Merry Christmas, everyone. Well, nearly Merry Christmas. Thought that I'd do myself all up for you guys today. I'm like this and I haven't even opened up the coffee yet, which I shortly will. But do you like this look? Here with my Type A personality. I'm just going to put pre-show up so I know where I am. Oh, I love it. So, what do you think? Do you think it's? Do you think this looks pretty cool? I've just had a first like already. Oh, thank you so much, Mirrorless. I haven't got a down like yet. I'm sure I will pretty soon. Oh dear. So who have we got in here? Let's have a look. I don't know how long I can keep this on. I'm pretty hot. Actually, I'm going to put my air conditioner on. Hang on a second. It's starting to get a bit warm. I think we're predicted to be around about 30 degrees on Christmas Day. Let me just check because I think it actually is a pretty hot Christmas for us. It's not going to know who I am. So I think on Christmas Day here, we're predicting, yeah, 30 degrees Celsius on Christmas Day. So it is going to be a nice warm one. It's warm all next week, actually. So I suppose unlike the Europeans where you have cold weather and snow and stuff, we're the total opposite. We're going to be 30 degrees Celsius, so it's a lot different. So happy Christmas, everyone. I'm going to take this off now because this is hot. Whew. Oh, let me put that down there. Let me crack a... I think I've got a bit of fluff there. That went in my mouth. Let me crack a subby. Got to get that fluff out of my mouth. I shouldn't say crack a stubby. Let me pour the coffee, I should say. Let me just put that over there. So, cheers with the coffee, guys. The lovely malty coffee. All right, so let's see who's on board. Let's check. I couldn't get on yesterday due to actually I was out shopping and doing a shoot in the morning, so I couldn't get on yesterday. So I thought I'd pop on with all of you guys today. So Reuven's in here, Mirrorless New York's here, Wayne saying Santa, the Panda photographer's here. Chris is saying hello, David. Nice in Lower Los Angeles. Coroni coffee, nice hat, thanks. Hat says, hey everyone. Panda says, someone buy me a bank please so I can buy a camera. Thomas said, Merry Christmas as well to you from North Carolina. Graphic Mill said 30 degrees, so much for snow. Yeah, we're not going to get that. It's 30 degrees Celsius though, remember? So that's high 20. What would it be? I'm not sure. Probably in the 90s, I think. If you're dealing with Fahrenheit. -1 there. Whew, that's cold. Excuse me. That fluff has got down my throat. What else have we got? I got some Santa's fluff down my throat. It was stuck on my head and it went in there. What else have we got? Steve Wagstar said, greetings all, we have 35 on Christmas Day. Mark says, hi all. Rui says, hello from Alabama. Anderson says, hello from, is that Wichita? KS. Robert says, hi from Alabama. The Panda says, -1. Yeah, that's so cold. Three Trees says, Merry Christmas. And Jerry Kung says, hi all. So, got a few things I'm going to discuss with you today. I've got a few rumours and stuff like that we can go through. I thought I'd start, though, by going through the little OSMO Mobile that I bought. So I thought we'd go on that. But I want to give it a couple of minutes just to let people get on board because this is not my normal day to go on live. So, yeah, we'll start on that shortly. What else have we got? I'm going to check the replay on the fluff. It was from the hat. It got stuck on my head. And it went in my mouth. I was trying to get it off and it went straight in my mouth. I've still got a bit in the back of my throat, I think. If I pass out, guys, can you please call 000 here in Australia? So Lambo is saying hello from Philadelphia. Let me just take off this pre-show layer. Three Trees is, he said that. Barry's also in here as well. So I might pop on Monday just to say happy Christmas to you all. I am also intending to put on my best shoots of the year, you know, like a slideshow, to show a lot of my slides or model shoots and stuff that I've done throughout the whole year. So that will be on as well. And I've obviously got posts from the recent shoot that I just did as well, a modeling shoot with a whole stack of amazing girls. I'll show you the actual group. Let me just go to my Facebook page, because these girls were pretty amazing. So let me scroll over here. Oh, that fluff. So it's under my Osler Images page. That's my business name, Osler Images. And let me go to photos. And it was this group down here. So let me see if I can just move this up so you can see it. And let me reduce it down. So this was the group that I just did. It was 6 groups from a model agency, Bella Models. Gorgeous girls. We had stylists there. There was makeup artists there. We had florists there. The hair pieces were done actually at that time. We had a fantastic day. It was great. I filmed it all, so you're gonna see this film coming up in the coming days on YouTube. So it should be great. Again, if you look at this one, that was one of the images that I posted the other day, showing the hair and the makeup. Just beautiful, stunning girls. This was another one that we did. It was also advertising this furniture as well, which is almost like a recorder, where you move your hands. I can't remember what you call them, but the furniture was like that, so it just expands out. It was incredible, this furniture. So we're also using that in the shoots as well. And this was the last one I think I posted yesterday. Again, these are real flowers on their headpieces, so we had so much fun putting all of this together. And that's it. So stay tuned for that video coming up. If you want to see my actual work, it's not David Osler. It's actually the Osler Images page is my work page. That's my business name. So Osler Images has everything to do with my work as a business. So that's where I post all of my business-orientated stuff, rather than the David Osler page, which is more of just anything. Whereas the Osler Images page for me is my business side. So if you did want to check out all that stuff, it's basically all on there, and I post all my YouTube stuff as well. So, feel free to join me there. Like it if you want to follow me on that part of my page. Yeah, I just thought I'd show you basically what's on there. I put a lot more on here than what you'll see anywhere else, because obviously this is where I share all my business stuff. They're on an Instagram as well. My Instagram page, let me just bring that up. Oops, Instagram. O-A-S-T-L-E-R. Oh, D-O-A-S-T-L-E-R. Someone had a similar name. So this is my Instagram account. So if you do want to follow me on there, just D Osler. Love you to follow me, and I do always follow you back. Again, this is an area where you can see all of my work as well. Basically, let me just pull this down so you can see. So you can check out all of my work through here as well. So if you wanted to follow me on there, I do follow everyone always back. And again, it's an area where you can see my work being constantly updated. So check that out as well, and follow me on there as well. I just got a big chat thing, so let me come back to here. I have to say thank you. Chris, oh, that's unbelievable. Thank you so much. Chris said, thank you for all your great content and advice throughout the year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Buy some Corona coffee. I certainly will, Chris. In fact, cheers right now. Thank you very much. Three Trees said, yeah, it did go down your throat. I know it did. I'm still feeling a little bit. Horrible fluff. All right, so let's see who else is in here before we start the show. If you are looking at this later on, I mean, whatever, just skip to where you see the OSMO Images sign. There will be a timeline down below anyway, so I will show that too. What else have we got? Graphic Meal. Oh, no, I've read that before. Mark said, you have to grow a Santa beard. That way you can hide that new DJ. I've still got to tell Kerry. I'm lucky she doesn't watch the lives. Kerry always watches my model shoots, so she does always watch those, but she doesn't watch the live shoots, so I'm going to be in so much trouble. I'm going to have to work out how I can tell her. That's funny. Panda says, I need a beer too. Haven't had one since New York City. Wow, that's a while. Mark saying hi. Rui says hello from Alabama. Three Tree says Merry Christmas. Jerry says hi all. Robert says hi from Brooklyn, New York. Now I'm having beer burps. Barry says hi David. Lombo says hello from Philadelphia. Hart says what happened to snowy Christmas? We don't get that here. It doesn't even snow here until February. Oh, interesting. Yep. Well, we're warm as on Christmas Day. In fact, we're going to my daughter's and I think I'll be swimming in their swimming pool. Three Trees, yeah, the fluff. Fluff is on the side of your neck, maybe under your shirt. Check replay. It's gone now, I think. But it went straight from there, straight in my mouth. I still feel like I need to cough. Chris, thank you so much for that donation, Chris. Really appreciate it. Oreo says good evening, morning, whatever. It must be late for you, Oreo. Hi, David. Started a coffee. You can't miss your Friday. That's, yeah, no, I did. Oh, you're live, Aaron said. Yes. Venom said, camera conspiracies mentioned you in his latest video. I was dying laughing. I know, he's a great bloke. We often have a bit of a laugh together at each other's comments. He mentioned that because I was talking about how I want to try and start shooting weddings around 5.6 to allow a bit of the environment to actually come in. Because sometimes shooting wide open is not always preferable. Remember, if brides are shooting in these gorgeous locations and you've blown it out, well, they might as well be getting married in a parking lot. So... He did mention it, and it cracked me up, and I actually put a comment and laughed out loud on his page as well, so it was quite funny. He's a great bloke though, so if you haven't subscribed to him, please subscribe because he really is a great bloke. He's actually got more subscribers than me now. I should be asking him to give me a promotion. Well, I suppose he did when he mentioned me. Langston says, "Oh, look here, you didn't even know this was going." I didn't even know this was on live yet. Langston said, evening from Los Angeles. How are you enjoying Osmo? I'm going to talk about that when I start the show in a minute, Langston. Just a suggestion about doing your live shows. Maybe put up the preview a day before. Yeah, I've tried that sometimes, but sometimes it gets lost, Mark. It's hard to know which way you do it. You know, it really is tough. Sometimes I find that if you put them in too early, then people forget or whatever, and I don't know. I don't know what the secret there is. My camera's just dropped down there, the Logitech. What else have we got? Langston said, question to David Osa and everyone, do you segment your work into different brands or do you singly focus on one area? Langston, I don't do different brands. I solely concentrate on weddings and model shoots. It's really all I do. I don't do baby shoots. I really don't do that much family shoots. I don't really want to get into those areas. For me, my love is high-end type fashion type work because that's where I came from, and I love that type of shooting, and that's where I want to stick to. Look, you can do everything, and I used to do everything, and I was really unhappy about it. Like, I used to shoot babies, and I hated it. I should say shoot babies. I used to photograph babies, and there's so much competition in that area. You know, like it really was bad. Like, if you look at it, and I don't mean to degrade mothers, but we call them mothers with cameras. There's that many mothers out there that are stay-home mums looking after their family as they do, and a great side shoot to that is to be able to photograph weddings and pregnancies and things like that. And I was just finding that the market was completely oversaturated. In fact, if you go onto my local area, the residency page as we call them, and someone puts in looking for a baby photographer or a newborn photographer, there'll be 50, 60 posts coming in. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And there's no money in that for me. And I was finding, like, I charge $450 an hour. And then I was finding that when I did baby shoots, they would still pay me the $450, and I couldn't get it done in an hour, and they'd end up going for 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes, you know, just trying to calm the baby down and get it done. And I thought, well, this is not for me. I'd prefer to just basically do model shoots where I'm being paid to do that model shoots, and then also do weddings, and that gives me a good living. And I think it's where I want to be, and it's really what I'd like to shoot. As YouTube grows for me, I may probably end up backing out of weddings a little bit and offset them to other photographers that work for me, because I do get an awful lot of wedding bookings. Like I said, I'm booked out basically for 2 years, but it's sort of holding me back from where I want to grow in YouTube a little bit now. So what I might probably tend to do is, as YouTube starts to grow and as it becomes more financial, which it is now starting to become financial for me. Like I said, I'm always honest to you guys. As it becomes a little bit more financial, I will probably back off on some weddings, but I never want to be one of these so-called full-time YouTubers that doesn't shoot. I love shooting and I want to keep shooting, so I'll always have that side of my business as well. But it may be that instead of doing one wedding per weekend or whatever I'm doing, I might back that off to doing, say, 8 or 10 weddings per year, and be very selective on the weddings that I choose. And obviously I'll still do the model shoots because I just adore that. That's my favourite type of work, so I'll still do that. I have spoken to you before, and I'm seriously going to start it next year, just before we start the show, that I am going to bring on a Patreon into my channel next year. And what that's going to be about is going to be about offering extra services for you guys, like being able to critique your work and do things like that I can't do in the normal channel, and also having extra live shows for the Patreon people there, being more social, be answering emails for things like that. So it's going to open up a lot more for people. Now, it's not going to change how I'm broadcasting for you guys for free now. Nothing is going to change in that regard, because it will still be exactly the same. I will still have the weekly live shows. I'll still have all my other shows coming up. But I'm going to offer Patreon to give extra service to people that may want to watch me edit, might want to talk about more of the business side of things and stuff like that. So I am going to offer a Patreon starting early next year. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know how it's going to be set up and things like that. And there might be a few tiers that I set up as well. But I will let you know about that. What else have we got? Before we start, OSMO Mobile I'll talk about in a minute. The Pocket, I mean. Mark said, just a suggestion about doing live show. Oh yeah, I read that before. So I really do focus really on 1 or 2 areas, Langston. It's now just weddings and model shoots. That's basically it. Here I said, greetings. Langston said, well-being, not so much, David. I love and load. I know where he does. I'm not sure what that means. Photo Mix, hey, g'day, mate. How you going? Langston says, I don't want to do everything, but drones, cars don't mix with portraits and events, but all 4 interest me. Well, as long as it interests you, Langston, that's really all that should matter. If you do something that interests you, you do better work. And that's the thing. I hated photographing the babies, and I despised it. And I dreaded the day coming about, and I dreaded going in there in the morning, and I just really hated it. So I've just refused to do it anymore. Yes, there is money in it. Nowhere near as much money, though, as what I can get from doing everything else. But there is still money in it, but I just didn't like doing it. Langston said, have they made Photomic a Nikon ambassador yet? I don't think he is trying to be either. Langston says, you do some bomb work, though. Keep it up. Always surprised to be watching Nikon videos. Yeah, I watch Photomic's videos as well. Sniper V said, David O said, did you hear a shout out to you from Camera Conspiracies? Yes, I did. He's starting to be quite a good friend for me on YouTube. I know he watches a lot of my live. In fact, often he comes onto these live chats and chats as well. So I know he does pop in a lot there. And I do, like Photomiac does, I do support other YouTubers. So we do actually go onto other channels and actually comment and be live in their chats and things like that and actually comment. I know a lot of YouTubers don't do that. I like to do that. And I really think it's great to be that way, involved with other YouTubers. We should all support one another, and that's important to me. So I do also support them. Let me just fill up my coffee. Oh, I love it. Like Photomix says, he's been on the live stream before. Yes, he does. He always says to me he watches my videos, so he does actually watch it. House says photographing the children does sound quite hectic. I enjoy photographing children. Like if they're old enough that they can move around freely or even sit up, I actually quite enjoy doing that side of it. I just don't enjoy photographing them when they're babies and and they've got to be cuddled and I just don't like it. It may be a guy thing as well. I'm not actually quite sure. I get a little bit uncomfortable trying to hold them. Like I always made sure that Kerry was involved so she could do that aspect of it. But it's just not for me. I noticed Photomic's probably very similar as well. I haven't seen him do baby shoots. Whether his wife actually does that, let us know, mate, in there if you do any of that or you just don't get involved in that. It's a very, very competitive area though, and honestly I see so much work that I just don't like, and I'm just not into putting them inside all these baskets and hanging them and all this sort of stuff. If it was me, I just like them looking natural, and that's the thing for me. I would like to be just shooting natural work, and now they all want them hanging outside of baskets and stuff like that, and I just can't stand it. In fact, I sold all of the stuff that I had for that, all the props, everything I sold off, because then it gave me an excuse that I couldn't do it, because Kerry initially wanted me to keep going on it because I was making good money with it. But it's not just about the money for me. It's about lifestyle. It's about enjoying what I do. It's about the art. And if you're doing something that you don't love, it really does spoil it for you, I believe. Mark said, just a shout out to the Snap Chick releasing the Sony a7 III review without having to do the joining fee on her Patreon site. Thanks for listening. Why does she do... Yeah, see, the Patreon for me will never be like that. It's never going to be about holding stuff back like camera reviews, things like that. Like I said, what you see now is going to stay exactly the same, and I promise you that. It's not going to be like Photomia, who I've mentioned before. I was disappointed that he stopped his live broadcast and started just putting them on Patreon. That's not going to happen to me, and I understand he did that for money. I'm not bagging him for that, but I'm not going to change what you see now. But the Patreon will give extra features, like you can watch me edit, you can watch me do things like that, and I can be available by email, I can critique your work, and things like that. So that's what that's going to be about. Randy said, hi, David. Merry Christmas. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Ryan. Photomix said, we learned our lesson very early. Them shoots last way into the long, and I'm not into babies. Yeah, I'm the same. They last for hours. Like I said, and I'm always honest with you guys, I charge $4.50 an hour, and I can get nearly any shoot I want done in that time. That will include a few images. I think it's 5 images, and then they'll buy prints and stuff like that as all extras or extra digital files. But it was going for 3 to 4 hours, and it was horrible. I hated it, and it's just not me, and I'm like Photomic, and I just do not want to get into that at all. Aaron says, it's great to support other channels, and it is, Aaron. I totally agree with you, and as you know, I subscribe to your channel as well. Hero says, most of the hanging babies in basket shots are Photoshop backgrounds these days. Yeah, and they're just not me. I just hate it. Haas says, yes, David, the basket and Easter eggs have become mainstream. Don't like it at all. Michael's in here as well. G'day, Michael. Stacey Miller said, good evening from Idaho. Babies make me uncomfortable as well. Shivers. I literally couldn't sleep the night before. I hated it that much that I would not sleep. And I detested it, and I said to Kerry, I know the money's really good, but I'm not doing it anymore, and that was it. She supported me. Can we watch you make breakfast on Patreon? I love it. Anyway, we better start. What time is it? I've been on 24 minutes and I haven't even started the show yet. So let me just put on here, I'll just read what PhotoMX says. We attempted a few babies early in our career. In fact, there is a video on my Ike and Tash channel. I haven't seen that one, actually, that I shot way back in 2010. I just don't want to go back and even think about when I did it. I hated it. I really did. So let's go show start. All right, so bear with me. I'm going to pull over to the OSMO Images sign. G'day everyone, popping in for our usual, well, it's not the usual, it's usually on a Friday for me, but it's Saturday morning. I missed yesterday due to the fact that I was Christmas shopping and I wanted to walk past the DJI store, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I thought I'd get on live with you today. And really looking forward to having a great chat. We have had a decent pre-show. If you have skipped that, well, obviously we're going to start the show now. And I think I've got a few sort of interesting news stories that we can discuss. But I wanted to talk about what happened yesterday. If you noticed, I did put a video up yesterday about buying this little Pocket, DJI Pocket, OSMO Pocket yesterday. I did make it, and I haven't told Kerry yet, so I'm probably going to be in a lot of trouble. Except eventually she'll notice the bank account's gone down $600. It was $600 Australian. Boy, we get ripped off here. And look at the size of this thing. It's ridiculous. I'm dying to actually take it out and use it in a shoot. I'll just turn it on so you can see basically what happens. It starts within around about 5 seconds and then it comes up. Look, it does seem to be... I really like how it's... Look, the thing is, though, I haven't shot the footage actually yet, and I'm going to do that in the coming days to do a proper review for you guys. Similar to other DJI things, if I triple-click it, see it comes down for selfie mode, and I can see the face tracking actually on. It does do 4K 60p, which is really interesting. Incredible little device though. Initially I wasn't thinking about buying this because I saw reviews and they mentioned that the focus was a bit off, and I also saw that the audio wasn't very good, but they did a recent update and I watched the reviews of that where people had updated to this and it had improved it amazingly actually from what I'd seen in the footage. So, and also the audio sounds really quite good now. So I'm dying to try it. I've bought a couple of things as extras. I've bought a holder which comes in that will hold the iPhone actually in place, which I'm looking forward to using. But I will do a full review of this in the coming days and let you know how it goes. So it does do 4K 60, which is interesting. So I can use this to go 4K 60 and then slow it down in post. And it seems to be like, from what I've seen, the footage is really quite nice. I'm going to buy a few adapters like the wireless adapter, and I'm intending to get something so I can plug the pole that I've got and then I can, use this on a pole and do different things. I am seriously thinking about using this, obviously for my, for all of my YouTube stuff and vlogging, which is where this will be fantastic to use, because I'm just getting sick and tired of waiting for Sony to bring out an articulating screen. So I thought that I'd just jump in. Now that I've done this though, the A7000 will be announced in about a week or 2 weeks or so, and it'll have an articulating screen. But the beauty of this is you check out the size of this. I can stick this in my pocket, and basically, it's that small that I can take this anywhere. I've bought the ND filters. They're on order. I should get those within about 10 days. So I have bought the ND filters at the moment. They're not DJI ones. I bought them from somewhere else. I can't remember. So I've ordered those and they're being shipped to me now from the US. So I'm looking forward to getting those. Obviously so I can use slow the shutter speed down. But dying to try it. I can't wait to try it in the coming days. And I'll let you know honestly what I think about it. I bought this out of my own money. Like I said, Kerry doesn't know yet, but she soon will when she checks the bank. But I will let you know how it goes. But I'm quite excited to see how it looks. And the little screen on the front actually seems to be really nice to look at. It does have your touch screen that if I start this up again, it does have your touchscreen that, you know, when you do things like that, you can actually do all different things. So the touchscreen works quite well. Like it's quite an interesting interface. It will do time lapse. It'll do motion lapse. It does panoramics. It'll do moving time lapses. Like I said, it does 4K 60p. You can track. Also, one of the good things is as well that because it follows and it has active tracking, if I put a circle or if I mark here around the face of someone or any object, it will actually track that object. For instance, if I do the little thing up there, it will track as we go around. You know, the camera will stay on active tracking. I wonder if it'll do it through my face. Yeah, so, and the good thing about this is, as I'm walking or whatever, it'll track me as I move along, and, you know, and the camera will actually track me no matter where I go. So, yeah, it seems to be fantastic. So I'll let you know how it goes anyway. To get 4K 60p out of that is incredible. I could only get a couple of cards, so I would like bigger cards, but they never had any in stock. So I ended up getting these, which are the 32 gigabyte V30 cards. And basically, I'll have to get some others, but I think these give you the ability to write that 4K 60p. You may even be able to use other cards. I'm not sure. I'll have to do a test. But they were the only ones that they had in the store yesterday. They'd sold everything out. I actually got the last one in 2 shops. We have 2 DJI stores in Melbourne that just sell, obviously, the DJI gear, and they sold out. I walked into the first store and they just sold before I got there. I went to the second DJI store in Melbourne and they sold the last one, so I was lucky to get it yesterday. So yeah, so I'll let you know how it goes anyway in the coming weeks. Like I said, I'll have a review up soon to talk about that. So let me just see what people are saying in the chat. See if anyone wants any has any questions about that. Sam's just saying hello from Texas. I do enjoy seeing you pop up into your channel's live stream. Thanks so much, Sam. MJ said happy holidays, everybody. Yes, that's the same to everyone. Supernomics says Merry Christmas. JB said I have 5 kids and yet I can't stand baby photography. Exactly, I'm exactly the same. Photomix said SnapClick has always had some kind of members only options, if you know what I mean. Oh yeah, well I don't really watch her, Photomix, but she's a big Nikon chick, isn't she? I think that's what I'd seen. She always seems to me to be a bit sexual though. Am I wrong with saying that? Let me know in the chat, because like I said, I've only ever watched this very rarely Snap Chick, and she always seems to give me this sexual vibe, and I'm not comfortable with it, but let me know if I'm right in that regard. Oh, I just got another donation too. Let me just check who that was from. Rick Rat, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate that. What else have we got here? B&B Film says, hey... cheers, everyone. MJ said, not 5, though, laugh out loud. I'm not sure what that means. Laxton said, I have 3, yeah, no interest in kids photography, yeah. Ray said, you're giving me gas. That's the reason why. The funny thing was, I didn't really intend to get it, and I walked past it when we were shopping. We were doing Christmas shopping. Luckily, Kerry was shopping for kids and stuff like that elsewhere, and I walked past the shop, and I went, ooh, and... And then I walked past the first one and they never had anything. Then we went shopping to another shopping centre and there was another DJI store there and I went, ooh! And so I walked in again and I bought it. I'm going to be in so much trouble. Michael says, nice, David. I heard the footage is kind of nice. Yeah, I'll let you know how it is. It'd be interesting to see how it goes. MJ said, yes, T-Ray, don't need that. Why do I want it? Photomix says, Gerald Underdone's video makes me really consider that thing. Might be my next YouTube camera for shoots. Yeah, it does seem to be, from what I've seen, the video footage is really quite nice. And I have been going for something that is very easy to use for my vlogging and YouTubing and stuff like that. So I'm quite excited about what it's going to give me. But stay tuned, I'll let you know. Panda said, sorry, I was using the Wi-Fi outside, Starbucks and cold. MJ said, me too, PMI. Michael said, yeah, I saw that, that you're talking about that video review. Panda said, DJI send out early units with features that are not in the final product. Yeah, I heard that. I'm happy with what's in there, though, from what I've seen. I think they've added a couple back with that latest firmware update, like the 120p. There is a big crop, though, at the 120p from what I've seen, and the 1080 footage looks a little bit soft. I'll be shooting everything 4K, though, so... Delta Dave says, the only way I do Patreon is if the premiere will have the angry photographer interviewed by the happy photographer. I have got something coming up. Well, I've got something in my mind that I want to do with the happy photographer. I've just got to get the time to do it, but you're going to die laughing when you see it. Stay tuned. Enzo said, got my Osmo this week. Love it. So useful for so many things. Langston said, I have too many Osmo Pro 5, both mobiles. If this thing is good, I might sell the Osmo Mobile 1 and 2. Well, I have the Osmo Mobile 1, and that's the reason why I did like that, but this seems to be so much better than that. Sniper V says, but how's the low light on the Osmo? I'll have to let you know how the low light is. The XT was too soft in my opinion. What was the X3? Do you mean the TX3 or what are you talking about, Langston? I'm not sure. Michael said, David, please let us know if you like it after some time. I will, yep. Langston says, Osmo Mobile is the one that you slide the phone into. Oh, okay. So low light depends on the phone itself. Oh, okay, I understand that. Mark said, I don't think they are swappable. Woohoo! I am DeBrown also just gave me a Christmas donation. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate that. From my house to yours, wish you a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. What else have we got? Langston said, Mark Frost, they seem to swap over versus replace like they do on the drones. Supermax said, saving money to buy the Profoto B10 and the G Master 85. Yeah, I'm still loving that Profoto B10. I adore that light. It's changed the way I shoot. The Panda said, DJI took out the LUTs. Yes, they did. Now, they may bring LUTs back. I'm not sure, but I very rarely use LUTs anyway, Panda. I'm just using standard for everything. I like to edit quickly, and I'm usually happy with the results that are there. Like I said, I have bought NDs, but I'm not fussed about LUTs, but they may come back in a firmware update. Photomix said, DJI stuff always need firmware updates on day one. They probably do the most updates of any manufacturer. Yeah, they do actually, don't they? Even my drone is updated constantly. WN says, Merry Christmas. I don't follow Snapchick either. She's in my neck of the woods desert. I don't click with her personality nor care to pay her Patreon to get more material. Yeah, like I said, if my Patreon is not going to be altering what I am now, so it's not going to alter anything how my channel works apart from having extra features for you guys. The Panda says, hi to I'm DeBrown. WN says she looks good in a bikini though when I spotted her 3 years ago. The Panda photographer said, good day, sir. Photomix says, WN, laugh out loud, right. Not sure what that meant. All right, so let's go to first story. Oop. I'll just read what Langston says. The Osmo Pro 3 was a larger version of the Pocket discontinued with a smaller sensor. The Osmo Pro 5 was a Micro Four 3 version. Oh, woo, thank you so much, Michael. Wow, today's been a beauty. This has made my Christmas. All right, so let's go over to the first story. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate those donations. I really do. So first story, I wanted to talk to you about this because I noticed on Sony Alpha Rumors that they had more sensor news for these new sensors that Sony are coming up with. But there's some interesting discussions going on here about this, that there's 5 or 6 different native ISO settings available for these sensors. Now, they're saying there's just model numbers that appear to be different, but what they're saying down here is that, I'm just trying to see where it actually came about. So I'm just reading this because I'm going to put this as a post and you'll be able to read this yourselves. But it's saying down here, these sensors are open to be used by third-party companies also, which means they could be used by anyone. To use the full potential, you need to buy the rights to use this proprietary Sony interface, though, which is the interesting part about it. So, in other words, you can use these sensors in any of the cameras, but to unlock its full potential, you need to use this proprietary interface. Let me just click on that and see what that opens up. I'm just curious. Oh, why does that come up? That's interesting. Don't know. So you've got to use that interface. So don't expect these sensors to be used with their full potential on small compact mirrorless cameras. Camcorders are likely to use them first. Bigger, more powerful processors and bigger ventilation system. So in other words, they're saying here that you can expect these to be in those camcorders, which probably will hit in CES. That's what we're thinking may be announced at CES. Hopefully with something like the A7000 camera would come up at that time as well. So this is really interesting. But basically what they're saying is that they have multiple variances of ISO, like there's an ISO 50, ISO 200, and these are all native ISOs. ISO 800, there's an ISO 12800, ISO 102,400, and ISO 1638 4K. And they all obviously have different gains and things like that. Look, I'm no techie, as you know. I'm more of an art sort of techie type guy. So I don't understand the full implication of this. But what it seems to be is there's different variances of these sensors depending on what they'd be used for. If they want to use these in any camera other than Sony, they are going to have to license this Sony proprietary interface. And so that's a really interesting thing. And whether Sony even allows that to happen, they may keep that interface for their Sony cameras solely. We don't know. But to continue on with this, there's a couple of things which are interesting about this. This also is related to this because I noticed it's an SR5 and they're saying that in here that Sony is going to be bringing out a new H.265 codec and it's XEVC 8K. And they're saying basically, is this going to be on the A7S III? And we keep going back to, is this 8K going to be on the next version of the A7S III? And just to go down on this, it's saying the reliable Sony sensor source also sent me this new info that could be of future interest to Sony A7S owners. And what they're saying in here is that it's finalising this new 265 codec. And again, you're going to need a really beefy machine to run this. H.264 can run on most machines, but H.265 is really processor intensive. It's XEVC, the successor to XAVC, so it's going to be a brand new codec. And basically, they're saying that it's superior to Canon's XFHEVC. It supports 12-bit, 444, it's 12-bit lossless. And there's other stuff there as well that I'm just not going to go through. But it looks really interesting to see that they keep coming back to this rumour about having this 8K sensor being potentially announced in the A7S III. I know Photomir doesn't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen. I think it's probably definitely going to happen for 2020 though. It's only a matter of time, but we could definitely see 4K released in the new Sony video cameras. It could be announced at CES. So I'm going to open up the chat just to talk about this before we move on to the next story. Travis, oh, thank you so much. I got another donation. What did Travis say? I love your content. Buy some fruitcake on me. Happy holidays from the USA. Thank you so much, Travis. Really appreciate that so much, mate. I love you guys. Photomix said, Christmas break might go live on Sunday, Monday, since Danny and Jason go on break. I didn't watch their last show, actually. I was out, so I couldn't watch it. I was doing a shoot, actually. What else have we got? Photomix says, so you can rest assured those sensors will be in the next Nikon. Well, they probably will be, yes. I mean, you would think that. It's just interesting to see whether they're going to hold that other part, that processor back that they're talking about, Photomix. So it is going to be interesting. And whether, like Langston said, will Nikon pay for the additional licensing, or will they even allow that licensing to go out? It's going to be interesting to see what actually happens. Michael said Sony is saying gotcha. Yeah, they are in a way. Thank you so much, Super Nayak. What did Super enjoy a lot of the live? Keep it up. The coffee. Cheers, mate. Thanks so much. Michael said laugh out loud. Photomix says Langston Bull. Have you heard of QXD? And that's exactly right. Sony own that proprietary. and they've licensed that to everyone else. Probably if there's enough money involved, they will license it to anyone. Although they haven't for the A9, have they? They haven't licensed that sensor out to anyone. Langston Bull says, actually, I have no idea if it is or isn't going to go to Nikon. I see people using the competition subsystems all the time. Michael said, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing on that article. I know, look, it seems to be that these new cameras are going to be unbelievable if you read these specs are going to be true. Again, though, like I said, and I agree with Photomic that we haven't got computers at the moment that can edit these. That doesn't mean that Sony won't offer that as an option. Remember, it could be that they only offer 8K as an external option. A lot of people have 4K now available in their cameras and they don't use it. They shoot 1080p. So just because Sony put 4K in their cameras, it doesn't mean that they have to actually, you actually have to use that. Remember, if you're talking about the A9 and the A7 III, they already have 6K sensors in them now. So it's not such a massive thing to think of them putting 8K sensors in. And like CBC said, also it could be 8K downsampling, and that may be what they give us. We don't know yet what we're going to get to that. And that is an interesting statement there, CBC. It really is interesting to see which way Sony are going to go. I mean, like I said, no one knows at this stage. I think it is a definite, if you look at that Japan have just started doing 8K broadcasts, these new sensors obviously are being developed for a reason. They're not going to be developing these sensors and then not use them in anything. And like I said, I do believe they may come into the camcorders first, but you can bet that it won't be long after that they'll be released in the new A7 series cameras. It may hit with the A7S III, or it might even be the A7S IV or an A9S, for instance. We just don't know yet which way Sony are going to go on that, but I do think it's definite that it's going to actually happen. And things like computers are getting more and more powerful. There's new AI processors from that are just about to come out now that apparently is super quick. Storage is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. It's just a matter of time before they do become mainstream. But you know, we're still probably a couple of years away. But you can be surprised how quickly things change. I know here in Australia now, no one buys a television now that's not 4K enabled. And Netflix here is broadcasting 4K all the time. All the shows that I watch are often in 4K. So we are using that now. But remember, for me, it's not about editing in 4K. It's about having that ability to shoot 4K and then to downsample. It's the same reason why 6K downsample to 4K gives such a beautiful result. And that's the thing that I use it all the time for, to be able to crop in, to be able to downsample that 4K footage to 1080p, and you get a much sharper result doing that. If you record with the Sony camera's 1080p, it's still lovely footage, but if you record 4K and then you downsample to 1080p, that footage is even sharper, and that's often the way that I like to go. Let me keep going through these before we move on to the next story. Photomix says XQD is built by Sony. Yep, exactly. You're dead right. But name one Sony camera that actually used it. Yep. My Nikon D4S used to have QXD, and I love that format, Photomix. I was surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the A7S has it. A7S III has it. It'll be interesting to see. Ali says it makes no sense that they would release 8K in their mirrorless line before their Pro video line. Well, you just don't know what's going to happen there. They may bring out another FS7 or something like that, an FS8 that has 8K footage in it. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm De Brown says, with that horsepower, you probably would want a QXD. Yes, and you might. Yeah, you might exactly be right. X Studio says, I don't think that they will jump straight into 36 8K capable sensor in one generation. I think the A7S III will have a 24 6K capable sensor. Photomix says, Sony have to build a bigger camera to use QXD. Yeah, they may struggle to fit it in. That could be the problem. And Sony have already said that they won't do that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I'm De Brown says, but the FS series are ready. Yeah, but that's only 4K, isn't it, though? I don't think they're 8K, but they will come out in 8K, though. Photomix says, exactly my point. The 8K sensors will be in the pro cinemas long before they show up in the consumer mirrorless. Chasing Creation says 12-bit 444 would be crazy for video. Have to be fast card XQD maybe. I would be satisfied with 10-bit 422 internal, 4K, 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second. I just can't wait to see what happens. I'm really excited about what the potential is for all of this stuff though. You know, it's really going to be amazing to see what we get. Snapclick says, hey guys, good day. Keith says 8K Bayer can downsample to 4K 444. Mark Frost says 8K sensor with will burn in a hole in your hand if processed internally. Cooling a camera the size of the current Sony bodies is going to be the biggest challenge. Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting thing. But remember, as they get better processors, as these processors become better and better, they do run cooler and cooler. So that's something that you've got to consider. Inder Brown says, I need to buy a 4K TV but rarely get any 4K content. To convince me to upgrade. Like I said, I'll watch Netflix here. That's the main reason why I got it. We also have Foxtel, which is a pay-per-view channel as well that has a lot of 4K content, so you can watch all your movies in 4K and stuff like that. Sony camcorders use QXD cards. I didn't realise they did. I thought that, oh, well, someone can let me know. I haven't got one. Creative Film said, sup everyone. Oreo said, remember, there's Tokyo 2020. A lot of choices will be centered around that. Yes, they will. And remember, Panasonic have also talked about this. Panasonic have also talked about having 8K. There's no way Sony are going to allow Panasonic to jump the gun on them in that regard. So that's something that you have to consider. Do we need it? But there's also something called bragging rights that you have to consider as well. And that's why I'm saying you don't know what's going to happen. There's always bragging rights with technology. So let's wait to see. Hero says, I put my money on Olympus new camera doing 8K. I really would appreciate a thumbs up too, guys, if you could give me one. Just lets more people know I'm online. Cyber says Comcast has 1 terabyte per month cap. Watching a lot of 4K blows that cap easily. Wow, that's terrible. I really don't have a cap here in Australia. I think it's 200 gigabytes or 250 gigabytes or something. It's a lot. I can never ever use it. And that's on my phone. The home is unlimited, basically, so I can watch as much as I like. Lakeson says, I can't wait to see what they're doing on the 10th. Waiting for new Sony cameras date. Yeah, well, we're hoping there's something announced at CES early January, so that's what we're waiting on. Michael says, it's not for Sony to slow down or stop moving forward, but for the computer processing technology to speed up. Also, GPU technology has to step up as well. Exactly. Photomix said, Panasonic's cameras are bigger. They probably can handle 8K better than Sony can. All right, so let's go on to the next story anyway. Where are we? I just wanted to talk about this briefly because I have discussed it with you all a lot before. The funny thing is I haven't had time to even upgrade my cameras yet. I am going to upgrade them probably today, actually. I'll do the A9 and the A7 III today. If you have got the older firmware, please update the firmware because it does seem to have fixed all the issues that we were having with corruption of cards, things like that they were being deleted or not being deleted, but they weren't being readable in the camera. And it seems to have solved all of that problem, and also it solved the issue with the cards that couldn't be read. Everyone who's been commenting on the video that I posted about the firmware upgrade was now available have said that the firmware has fixed those cards not being able to be read. So it looks like they've fixed multiple things with that. They have fixed the issue of the cards being corrupted and not being able to be viewed if you haven't formatted your card or you've got auto preview turned on. And it's also fixed the issue with the cards that couldn't be read in the slot 1. So if you don't update your firmware, I would seriously recommend in this regard to actually do it because there was corruptions happening quite often according to comments that I'd had. I never had any of those corruptions, but I did format my cards between every shoot, and I do recommend that that's probably what you should do. A couple of things that I've said to people about this, even if you look at this problem that came out, now it seems to have all been solved, but there's a couple of things you should never do with your cards. You should never ever delete an image on your card, ever. That is the main way people corrupt cards, is by deleting an image. if you take an image and it's no good, just ignore it and delete it later on when you download it. The other thing I suggest to you is, and this I do think is really important, is to format between each shoot. If you're doing multiple shoots, take a couple of different cards and then change cards. But I don't think it's a good idea to do multiple shoots on the same card without formatting. The way I always work is I will do one shoot on the one card, or it's dual cards, and then I'll take that out, download it, format, and then it will be new cards put in. I never ever use cards in multiple shoots that haven't been formatted. I think it's just good file management. So the two things I do: format each time, have each separate shoot downloaded before you start the next shoot. With your cards itself, never ever delete on your camera. Also, don't format the card on the computer. Format the card in the camera itself. Don't format on the computer, because that can also cause corruptions as well. But my suggestion is to make sure that you update this firmware. There's now new firmware for the A7R3, the A9, and also the A7 III. So I know a lot of people don't upgrade unless there's problems, but I think this is a case where you probably should. So if you have got the older firmware, it might be a really good idea now to upgrade to that latest firmware. That's really all I wanted to sort of talk about on that. Let me open that up to quick chat just to see if anyone's saying anything. Photomix said, Coda, good point. Internet speeds and caps in the US will stop 8K from actually being worth it. Yeah, we're pretty good here. We might be very lucky though, and that's probably why Japan is going 8K as well. Their internet speeds and everything might be really good like we are here. Sony XD cams use XQD cards. Well, thank you so much for telling me that. Langston says, can't believe we are going into 2010 with data caps. You mean 2019? Yeah, not 2019. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. We don't really have them here now. Not who I'm with, anyway. Langston says, but I don't like it in 2000 either, for the record. Joel says, I mentioned in another live that my slot one wasn't reading SD cards. The issue is gone after the update. Yeah, I haven't heard anyone mention that they haven't had a good outcome from that, Joel. So it really is important to upgrade that firmware. William saying hi from Dublin. Hi, William. How are you? Nice to have you in here. I'm Brown says, David, I'm confused why is this feature available to delete an image from a card? I know, I agree with you. I think it almost should be taken off, because there's no reason to do that nowadays. There really is no reason to delete in camera. But if you Google it and see, it's one of the problems that people talk about. One of the main things for corruption is deleting images on cards. Remember, it's so easy to go back to your computer and delete off Lightroom or whatever you're using. Just don't do it in the on the card. I hope you like. Also, they were having issues too rating, I believe, previously as well. That was causing problems with that previous firmware. If you're rating images, it was also corrupting. That seems to now all be fixed. Hope you like Pixels. What if you're on holiday? Would you have 10 cards with you? I download when I'm on holidays to that little portable device I have. But no, I don't. Look, I'm only talking about paid things. If it's really important to you though, like if you can't lose your holiday pics, I do recommend having some kind of a backup solution though. Hope you like pics. Don't, because you may lose a once in a lifetime trip. It's almost as bad as losing a paid shoot for you. So my suggestion is to download each day. Take your laptop and download each day. At least you have that backup in case if you have a corruption. You still shouldn't delete the files on the card though, like I said, not deleting individual ones, but I would still have a backup solution. I always take a backup solution with me. Mark said, off topic, Nick Page just did a review of the 400 and A9, doing a shoot of a rugby game. I believe there will be many switching to Sony with this Pro Sports setup. I wouldn't be surprised either. SnapClick said, SPS sent me a 24 1.4. I've heard nothing but good reports about that lens. Yep, I'm probably definitely going to get it. I don't know when, but I probably will. Jason said, I often delete pictures from my cards, but I also format between every shoot. Never had a problem. Knock on wood. Yeah, don't do it, Jason. Just, I mean, you don't need to. It takes 2 seconds to delete the file on Lightroom. Just delete it on the computer. You're not taking up really any more storage on the card. The amount that you can put on these cards now is incredible. Just delete it on the computer. Just ignore it. Jason said, I've also noticed that when you delete pictures, they don't get deleted from the second card. True. Dion says, unlimited 145. Yeah, that's what I'm basically on, Dion, here. Nice to see you, Dion. Langston said, I found that doing it on my drones this way leads to less corruption. Are you talking about deleting them or not deleting them, Langston? Not sure what that YouTube video is. Casper said, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Casper. Jason said, I also rated pictures with the older firmware and never had a problem. Maybe the issues were isolated issues. Yeah, we're not sure. But there was a lot of people having issues, that's for sure. But at least Sony were honest about it. They didn't hide that. And they also produced that firmware at the time they said they would. They said it was going to be an announcement middle of the month. And they did actually do that announcement at the middle of the month. So good on Sony for doing that. Good on Sony for owning up to it. Not that you can really hide it with social media now anyway. But they did own up to it, and they have put the fix out when they said they would. Ephraim said, this is a video in slow motion. The photos are amazing. Oh, okay, that's from that, is it? As well as the video with the Sony A9. Yeah, I love the video with the Sony A9. Still my favourite video camera. I use it all the time, in fact, for video. Mike's late to the show. Well, you got in here, Mike. Michael Mistress says, Casper's in the house. Hope you like Pick says, thank you, that does make sense. Yeah, take something. You know, you can even take a iPad if you have the adapter that you can put your photos in. Just take something. I use a device that I've showed it before. I use a device that you can put the cards in and back up on the go. Melbourne Drone Services. G'day, mate. How you going? Says, just popped in now and I'll probably be updating the firmware on the A7 III later today. Merry Christmas to you and Kerry. Same to you. You and your wife too, buddy. I've been using Melbourne Drone Services for a couple of things that we've been shooting recently, and absolutely great guy. Oreo said, for vacations, you don't need to, really fast cards, so buy lots of cheap average cards and switch them when they're full. They are cheaper and smaller to carry than a laptop or a portable device. Good comment there, Oreo. Jason said, I'll take your advice, David. Thanks for the advice. No worries at all. Hope you like Pick said Merry Christmas. Langston says, not deleting photos from the card directly, yep, and reformatting between jobs, yep. I do think that's a really good thing to get involved with, guys, is doing that. Never delete on the card and always format between jobs, and you probably will never ever have an issue. Mark said, the latest firmware is solid on my A7R III, but never had any issues with the previous version. Format before a shoot and formatting camera. So you're doing what I did, Mark, and that's why I probably didn't have issues either. MJ says, updating the A7 III right now. Yeah, I must do mine. I'll do it after I've finished here because I just keep forgetting. I'll keep doing other things. Ephraim said, Sony A9 is the killer of a digital SLR. It is the future for wildlife photography. And like I said, it's still my favourite camera that I've got. I adore that camera. It's just incredible. I'm lucky to have that in the A7 III. I really am. Hero says, quick question. I have a 128GB card. That's what I use in my A7 II. And in RAW, it says I have 9,999 pictures I can take in RAW, and it doesn't move even when I take a few hundred pics. No, probably not. That's probably the maximum that your camera can show, Hero. I would say that it's 999 is the maximum. So in effect, that card can probably take hundreds more than that. So you're not even reaching that point, and I'd say that's probably what's happened. Someone else may be able to answer that though, but I think that's probably the problem. That's the maximum that that the camera will show it can take. Brandon says, sorry if it's been discussed already, but if you haven't updated the Sony firmware at all and are still on the stock, should you upgrade to the new patch? Yes. Look, I know a lot of people talk about this updating firmware, that they keep the older firmware, but what you've got to understand is that Sony there could be issues, and this is the thing that you have to take into consideration, but They do improve things like focus. They do fix bugs that you're not aware of, that they don't tell you what they are. If you look on the firmware when you download them, it always basically says fix other things that aren't mentioned, that they don't tell you what's been mentioned. But they definitely fix things like tracking. They can fix things like the autofocus, things like that. So yes, I would say always upgrade your firmware. There's a reason why they bring that out. I'm Brown says, I now use the CGI Copilot Boss. Has been great at backing up my SD cards. Oh, cool. Hello, what are the main features with the new update? Well, the main features of that new update are basically to fix those corruptions that were happening. That's really what was happening. And also because they were having cards, that SanDisk cards particularly, wouldn't read in the slot 1, I believe. I never had those issues, but it wouldn't read, so that's now been fixed. Any news about the A7 Mark 1V? Would like Sony to maintain its dominance by introducing that? No, I don't think so. We may see that camera announced later next year. The two cameras that are definitely going to be coming out, I believe, next year are hopefully the A7000 really early in January, and then the A7S around NAB. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think we'll see a new A7R4 next year at all. We may at the end of the year, and then I think we'll probably see an A9 II for 2020, early 2020. But we have to wait and see. So that's what I believe will probably happen. So I don't think we're going to see a A7R Mark IV next year. We may get that 60 megapixel one, but it will be very late next year. They won't want to take away sales from the A7 III, the A7000, and the A7S 3 that are coming out. Just remember too, the A7R3 is still an amazing camera. It hasn't been out that long. Efren said, I am impressed that you may use the Sigma 150 to 600 with a new firmware update and the M711 at 15 frames per second, almost close to native. Yep, fantastic. What a great lens too if you're dealing with wildlife. Just updated to 2.1. Dion said, here we got an answer. Dion said, David, after 999 shots, it makes a new directory and then starts pulling new images into that. Oh, okay. You need to switch directory to view the additional images. All right, thanks for that, Dion. Langston Brown says, that looks pretty cool. Going to have to check that drive out. That was talking about the CGI Copilot Boss that he was talking about. Let me just bring that up. New window. See if I can find it. So this is the actual drive. Let me switch over. Is this the one that you're using, Michael? This one? 2 terabyte storage. It's a USB 3.1 integrated SD card reader. Yeah, so you've got the integrated card reader in this. Directly copy files, no computer needed. And they're $349 if you're looking at those. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Let me know in the comments too. I can put a link. I can create a link for you if you did want to purchase that. Let me just come back to these chats. Where were we? Shimmy said, have you had any issues with the mic input being faulty in the Sony A7R? I haven't got that camera, so no, I can't say I have. Other people in the chat may be able to let you know. Have you had issues with faulty mic input on the A7R3? I haven't got that camera. I've only got the R2. Oreo says, I think there's not really room for the A7R4 that improves on the R3. I think it's more likely an A9R with a huge leap in resolution. Interesting. Ian Brown says, Bell, plus you can back up or transfer images from your cell or tablet. Sounds like a good device, that. Efrain says, any idea about the new Sony A9 II? I will buy right away. Like I said, I believe that will be 2020, early 2020 though, that's going to be released. Jack says, the first time I used the A9 Canon 1x4 converter and the Sigma 500mm and the MC11, it was reading f4. Second time, it read 5.6. As I would expect, its contrast issue may be on first use. I don't know. I've never tried it, Jack, so I can't comment on that, unfortunately. Dion says also the Western Digital Passport Pro Wi-Fi. Yes, I've seen that drive as well. I've heard there's a couple of issues with it though, Dion. I don't know whether it's been fixed or not, but I have heard of a couple of issues with it dropping out and stuff. Ian Brown says, that's what I have, the DJI Copilot 2. It does everything you need, and instead of using a PC, you can use your mobile or tablet. All right, so let's go on to next story. Where are we? Let me come over here. I just wanted to quickly report this, that there's an interesting article if you want to read about DPreview is saying it still thinks that the A7 III is still ahead of the competition. When you're looking at the results from these cameras, I do really believe it's a shame that the Nikon didn't have dual card slot. If it did, I'd probably almost put the two cameras very, very similar. It'd be a hard choice to choose which one. The only thing I can say, I did use the Z6 the other day in the camera store here in Melbourne. And I did notice that the tracking in low light was not as good as what my A7 III was. So it did suffer a little bit tracking it with continuous tracking in low light. It hunted a little bit and it wasn't as good as what my A7 III was. But the other thing too, like I said to you, I'll never buy another camera that only has one card slot anymore for professional work. So that's the limiting factor here. If I had to choose between the two of them, the Z6 and the A7 III are very, very compatible. In fact, the video, from what I've seen in reviews, looks outstanding on the Nikon. It really does look fantastic. The Canon, though, I just wouldn't bother. I mean, it's a dud. I hate to say it, and I know people are going to go crook, but it's just terrible if you're dealing from it from a fusion perspective, and that's why I'm saying it's terrible. It's a great stills camera, and the results from it are really quite good. But if you're dealing with it from a videography side, no stabilization, no dual card slots, 1.8 crop, and terrible autofocus, which is really sad for Canon. And I really feel sorry for their users that after all that time, that's the best that they could come out with. At least the Z6 is a good camera. Like I said, it has been hurt by the single card slot though, and that autofocus, I believe, could be better, but at least it's not a bad try for a first up camera, whereas the Canon one tends to be not good at all if you're dealing with fusion. I know Canon fanboys are going to slam me for that, but I just don't think it is very good at all. It just shows how much Sony hit the ball out of the park basically with their A7 III release, and it probably also is why they haven't been in a hurry to release anything else. I did notice yesterday when I was looking at my camera store, it's the first time I've been into a local camera store and seen it in stock, off the shelf. That's the first time that I've seen that. So perhaps they are now starting to catch up with orders. And that was interesting. That's the first time I've been able to see one where I could have bought it there and then if I wanted to. But it just shows how good a camera that is. I still believe that's the best fusion camera for its price. You know, you've got amazing autofocus, you've got eye autofocus, that's one thing what the Nikon's let down with. You've got incredible tracking, you've got the dual card slots, great video, you've got the log profiles on there if you need them. It just is a fantastic all-around camera. You've got an amazing lens setup now, and I totally agree with what DPreview says, that the A7 III is still ahead of the competition at this time. Who knows what sort of leapfrog are they going to give us when we get the A7000 and the A7S III. The only area where Sony has been beaten at the moment is on their APS-C cameras. And like I said to you, if there was another camera that was better, I would admit it. I'm not that Sony fanboy that would say there's not something better. The X-T3, I believe, is a better camera than the A6500. And that's why Sony have to answer that with the A7000. But I believe at the moment the A7 III is by far the best camera that's out there. You know, it really is. And to jump onto this story before we go on to the next story, I just wanted to show you this because this sort of backs up too. It's really interesting. But I wanted to go on to this. Now, where was it that I could see all of the cameras? Oh, here's the full list. Let me just bring this full list up because it's really interesting. Now, there's one thing on this which I wanted to sort of talk to you about that does not surprise me, is the fact that the top selling camera, according to this list on Amazon, these are Amazon's best sellers. The top selling camera, according to this, is the EOS M50. Now, this shows what a powerful marketing thing Canon have. A powerful name that Canon have, because that's not a very good camera. But people that are buying that probably wouldn't know that. And also, it's, you know, it's reasonably priced. It does have the articulating screen, and it, you know, it's not a bad camera, I suppose, if you're dealing with someone buying their camera first up. But check this out. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. How amazing is the A6000 still selling? It's the number 2 camera. It's the number 3 camera. This is selling it with different bundles. It's the number 4 camera. It's the number 5 camera that's out there. But guess what's the first full frame camera that's actually going to come in? Oh, let me just move this. Let me just move this for a second. The most selling number 4 camera is the A7 III. Then it's the A7 III with an interchangeable 28 to 75 millimeter lens. So this is really interesting in itself. The A7R III comes in at number 10, and the A6500, what was number 9? Number 9, oh, how did that update over there? Let me just go back. Number 7 was the A7 III with that interchangeable lens. Number 8 was the EOS M50 again with this kit. And then number 9 was the A6300. And then number 10 was the A7R III. So really interesting, and if you look at that. So nearly all the top selling cameras, if you're dealing on Amazon, were Sony and Canon. And Sony had number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Now, that is absolutely incredible. So when you're dealing with looking at that, it really does make you think about how amazing the Sony cameras are actually at the moment. I'm just trying to see why that doesn't come back. Where's it gone? Oh, it's moved over actually. Let me just update this for you. So I agree with what DPreview is saying, and it also shows how well Sony cameras are selling. That's probably another reason too why they're just not in a hurry to sell the A7000. They're still selling bucket loads of these other cameras. But let me know about that. So let's open up the chat to talk about that before I go on to the last story. Actually, I'll do the last story now because it's only going to take a couple of seconds. Just here, Voigtlander. And this is really exciting. If you're into these vintagey type lenses, Voigtlander have, this is an SR4. There's rumors that they're going to announce a 50mm 1.2 FE lens in January in the US and in Europe. Now, I love Voigtlander lenses. I adored the one I had for the GH5, the 10.5, 0.95 lens. Cheers, everyone. Absolutely adored it. If you love using that type of lens, it'd be really interesting to see how this is. I just wanted to put that quickly because I know there are some Voigtlander fans out there. So, let's open it up to Q&A. We'll spend, how long have I been on? 1 hour, 18 minutes. I've done it again. So let's open up to Q&A and then we'll obviously finish for the day. So open it up to anything, but let me just come down here where we started. Let me quit that Q&A. All right, so what's it said? Victor said, should I go directly to the latest update and make them? Yes, go to the latest one. I think all the others are incremental, so it's included in that update, Victor. You don't have to go through each one. I think that's correct. Shimmy said, thanks for your info earlier. I have one last question. Do you know which is the best telephoto lens for Sony Alpha cameras? Well, it depends on what size you're talking about, Shimmy. It depends whether you want a 400, whether you wanted the 100 to 400. You know, there's that many different lenses about it. Depends on what you want to shoot. All the Sony lenses are pretty good now, particularly the G Master lenses. The Tamron is an amazing lens. The Sigma are amazing lenses. That, you know, although they haven't released their zoom lenses yet, though. What else have we got? Anu said, the very nature of software firmware is that it is ever evolving. There is no finished software. It's always improving. Every time devs find a bug and fix it. Being a software industry, I can tell you that. Yes, very, very true. Rai said, Victor, I updated from 1 to 2.1 and works fine. There you go. Dion said, DPreview says the only consistent thing about the focus on the Z cameras is that it's inconsistent. Yeah, I found that when I tried it, Dion. It was good for stills, and it was good for most of the tracking that I tried, but it definitely hunted a little bit when I was trying to track objects, and it just wasn't, it seemed to have that bit where it goes past and then back, and it was always like trying to find the focus. It didn't seem to just lock on like what the Sony does. The Sonys now are really excellent, up there with anything Canon can give. They really are outstanding now. And I think it's lacking a little bit, yeah, compared to what the Sony have. Michael says, bam, Sony looking good on top like that. Oreo said, Max Europe says the Z6 video is over sharpened. Yeah, I did notice that on his video. I couldn't download it, though. I could only look on the back of the screen, so I couldn't tell whether it was over sharpened or not. But the thing too, Oreo, is you could always go minus in your sharpening settings, and I think that would get rid of that. That would have to be seen to me, and I'd have to test that as well. I think Ike's done it, so perhaps Ike could test that and let us know what he does on his Z6. But I'm sure you could just go minus on your settings and it would get rid of that over-sharpened look. Donald says, not everyone wants IBIS. Pro video makers don't want IBIS. It's why Top Gear stopped using the GH5 and went back to the GH4. Yep. But remember, top video people probably aren't going to be using these cameras. They're going to be using things like the FA7 and other cameras like that. I'm talking about a fusion camera, and being able to hand-hold makes a lot of difference, and I want IBIS. Victor says, do you think we will really have 8K? We may. We don't know. We may. Chase and Creation says, any word on any new APS-C lenses that Sony said they would bring out soon? No, I haven't heard. We're still waiting to hear about that. But there's some great Sigma lenses out there now, though. Casper said, no Nikon, laugh out loud. Casper's trying to upset Phonomiac. Ivan says, morning, mate. You're right, she is a bit flirty. Yeah, that's what I sort of found. Dion said, look at the start ratings and review numbers between Sony and Canon. Star ratings, yep. Was there a massive difference? I didn't even look at that, Dion. Oh, did I close it? No, I didn't. Let me see if I've closed it. Yeah, I did. I actually closed it, so I can't go back. Donald says, who cares what cameras are selling the best? Talk about photography. David said, a dancing sensor is unfortunately what IBIS is. Johnny Boy says, still using my A6000 from my first day it came out. Brilliant camera. Yeah, it is. I'm doing the A6300 now, and I love that camera. Fantastic. Lol says, coming in late. What did I miss? Michael said, who's worse, the fanboys or the fanboy haters? Victor said, I dream about buying the Sony 100 to 400mm and the 1x teleconverter to go with my A7R. I know, it's that 100 to 400 is an incredible lens. I loved using it. David said, landscape photographers spend thousands on a rock-solid tripod. All that is basically defeated on an IBIS sensor. You just turn it off, though, David. Langston said, thousands on a tripod, does it transform into something else? So are there any last questions before we finish for the day? Guys, I probably will pop in on Monday just to do a quick live to say Merry Christmas to everyone. Just to sum up my year for you. And I've got some really exciting videos to share in the coming days coming on board. Don't forget, I will review this in the coming days as well. And I've also been sent a slider that is fantastic as well. A Chinese company sent me the slider. They did send it to me though, so I didn't pay for that, but I'll still give an honest review. But I have been using it in a couple of shoots. Ben, who came down and helped me do that model shoot that I just did on the weekend, loved it. It all works from your iPhone. It's a power slider, so I'll be talking about that as well. The other thing too is, guys, I do have a 10% off for the Moza Air 2. So if you are in the market for a gimbal, I've stuck the link for that down below. If you are after the Moza, you get 10% off the price of the Moza. So if you want to use that link, they did offer that to me, and I said I'll give it to you guys. So I have put that back in the link below. It's a great gimbal if you're dealing with heavier gear. It's similar to using something around the size of the Rowan S. So anyway, I've stuck that down below as well for you too. Don't forget, if you do want anything, just message me and I can create a link for B&H and Amazon. So if you do want anything, please send me a message and I will create a link for you. Apart from that, if I don't see you in the live chat or whatever that I bring up on the Monday, have a great holiday, guys. You guys mean the world to me, and I really do mean that. And I'm so excited about where I'm going to go next year, and obviously with you guys as well. Stay safe. Have a wonderful Christmas with you and your family. And I'll talk to you again soon. And that's about it, guys. So have a great day, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.